Oftentimes I'm asked, what do you do with all of the Momigami paper that you do? These are just a few that I have here. This one is a magazine page, an actual magazine page. This is a Citrusolve, National Geographic Citrusolve. This is an actual Illustrator file that I printed on a copier. Again, Citrusolve. So it's easy to end up with a lot of different papers that are fun to Momigami, and then what do you use them for? If you're not going to do a collage or a journal or something like that, I've started to come up with some other ideas, and one of them I did come up with, but realized I never did a video on it. I have the full instructions here on the breakdown of how to do it, which is a free downloadable on my blog. You can go to that and be able to download it for free and have it. But I've had some requests to do a video of this project because it's pretty handy. You could make a nice little gift out of it with the holidays coming up. This one's been in my purse, so it's kind of gotten a little beat up, but the paper tears out because I've perforated the paper with a pattern cutter. So stick with me and let's get started, and we're going to make ourselves a nice little notebook that we can carry in our purse, or you can make gift certificates. So this is the print. This is a watercolor that I did, and then I transferred that to a digital file and put it on my computer, and in Photoshop kind of cleaned it up, and then I printed it out on a regular, just on my home printer. And then I performed Momigami with hand lotion on this piece, and this is what I got. It's really very much fabric-like. If you're not sure what Momigami is, it's the Japanese kneading of paper, and there's a multitude of ways to do it. I do have a video linked in my channel, so if you want to get the full tutorial on how to create a Momigami piece of paper with lotion, just check that video out. So let's get started. So I have an 8.5 by 11 Bristol type of paper. It's a little like cardstock, not quite as thick, but most paper has a grain, and you always want to fold towards the grain. So as I mess around with this right here, I feel a little resistance when I fold it lengthwise. There's like resistance as I fold it. When I turn it this way and I fold it, it's not nearly as resistant. So that means I want my matchbook, I'm going to take it out of this direction. I'll take it, cut it out of the 8.5. It'll be the 8.5 wide. I'll cut that down to 6, but my 2 3/4 will come out of the 11 inch. So just to kind of give you a heads up, it'll be a little bit easier to fold over. So this is 2 3/4, and I'm taking it out of the 11, and I will trim it down to the 6 inches after I get that done, as I'm trying to make it with the grain. I want to fold it with the grain so that it does not crease as bad, because when you're going against the grain, it's really more difficult to fold and get a nice clean crease. So I have a Cricut paper cutter. You can use a regular X-Acto knife and a ruler. Sometimes I do that, but right now this just makes it a little bit easier. So I've just lined up my lines, and I will just run this down. I figure I might as well just utilize this whole paper and measure and cut, and then I'll have them for later when I want to make something. I've made like gift certificates out, and you can rip them out. I've also created motivational or inspirational little messages within the actual matchbook. And that's a nice thing to have in your purse, or it's just a nice notebook. Tiny, tiny, tiny notebook to have in your purse. So I'm going to get several out of this. There we go. There we go. I got, this one comes out at 2 3/4. So we get 4 out of an 8.5 by 11 sheet when we go 11 length. Now we'll cut these down to 6 inches. Alrighty, we got them all cut down. We got some leftovers here. I'm sure I'll use them for something. I never can get rid of a piece of paper. Are you kidding? I don't know about you, but my printer doesn't print all the way to the edge. So I've got like 1/8 of an inch of white border. And I'm just going to take that off real quick before I cut the covers of my notebook. So I'm just cutting that down real quickly. Doesn't have to be perfect because these edges will be covered anyways by the base that we just created, because we're going to just wrap it. And I'll just cut these up. It just makes it a little cleaner. So there we go. Thing to remember when you have your Momigami paper and you're ready to go, different from the actual paper that is just standard, there's no need to worry about grain. You've already broken the paper down and the fibers have been broken down. So it's very much fabric-like. So you don't have to be as concerned about whether there's tension or any kind of grain that you have to go with. So I'm just looking at what's easiest to cut down my 3 3/4 to 7 inches out of this 8-inch by 10 1/4 sheet of paper. Whenever you Momigami paper, it does get reduced by approximately a 1/2 inch. So I'm just going to go ahead and see which way I want to cut this out. So as I look at my design here, I'm just trying to envision how it's going to fit on. The one thing I didn't like about this one that I did, if you notice, we have 2 purple flowers, 2 yellow flowers. They pretty much are too redundant for me anyways. And the back isn't bad. And this one was a little bit different. That's the paper that I have. Again, it's got 2 purple, but the yellows are a little more spread out. And we also have a larger flower here, and the back is nice. So when I'm looking at my piece of paper, I'm thinking, okay, 3 3/4. How is that going to look? And when I cut this down to 7, are we going to have that repeat of design when we fold it over? So that's what I'm just kind of getting a feel for to see, because I can do 7 inches this way and 3 3/4 this way, or I could go 3 3/4, 3 3/4 this way and cut 7. But I think my best bet is going to be to take my 7 out of the 10 1/4 and my 3 3/4 out of the 8. I think that's going to be my best bet. So I'm going to measure that out. I'm going to take here and do 3 3/4 here, go down to here and do 3 3/4 here. I want to double check. Sometimes I get confused on my measurements, but nope, that seems to be right. So I think I am going to utilize my X-Acto knife on this. I do have my paper on a self-healing mat. I don't think it would do well on my Cricut cutter, so I'm just going to cut it here. I think this will work much better. Yeah, that works good. Okay, so now we have this piece, and then I have a second piece to make another one, so we'll look at that in just a little bit. Okay, so we've got our 3 3/4. So this is the direction that we're going to go 7. So I want to see, what do we have here? This isn't too bad. Let's see what's going to happen. So we got 7. Let's see here. 7 takes it down to about here. So I want to see something. Okay, so that's going to come off at here, and we'll go up about a 1/2 inch here. So, oh, this isn't bad. This isn't bad at all. So we have about, it'll be about like this, something like that. And it won't be as wide because we will be putting this, we'll be covering this and covering, folding over the edges of it, centering it in. So that's not too bad. Okie doke. I think that's what we're going to do. Okay, I have my Momigami paper all cut out. And what we're going to do is our bristle or somewhat kind of cardboard, we're going to cover it. And what I do here is I just kind of eyeball it. I'm going to have about a 1/2 inch around all edges. And here's where the reason is we wanted to watch the grain is because we're going to fold it this way. And the bottom is going to fold up this way. And it's just going to make it a lot easier to fold it when we do that. Okay, so we're going to glue this base piece to our Momigami sheet. And let's see what we're going to have here. Yes, that'll look pretty nice, I think. Or do we want to go this way? I think we're going to go that way. So basically what I'm going to do is take my glue and I am going to just get the edges really tight. I'm going to try and get this really stuck down good. This purple turns clear, so no worries on color showing through. I'm just going to glue the whole thing down. I don't want it going anywhere. Okay, so we got that all done. And let's see what we got here. Okay, I'm just going to center it. I'm just going to eyeball it. And it will be about, I want about a 1/2 inch on the whole thing, on each end, on each side. So that looks about right. So there we go. Put that here. Fold this in half. And I'm just going to flatten it down so that it sticks real good. And not get glue all over. There we go. Let's see what we got. Okay, that looks pretty good. That's stuck pretty good. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to want to pull these over and fold them down. And we're going to trim off these edges here. I'm not going to go quite to the corner, but I don't want there to be a huge overlap. So I'm just going to snip that off a little bit. That's not tight real good. There we go. Snip that off a little bit. Snip that off a little bit. And back on my piece of paper, I'm going to glue the edge here. Fold that down real good. There we go. Do the same on the bottom. Fold that over really good, tight, firm. There we go. Get another piece of paper. I want glue all over this thing. Okay, now, whoops, there we go. We're going to go all the way down the side edge. And we just fold it over really tight to the edge, roll it over. Make sure it's nice and secure. See how nice that edge is? It's just cutting those little pieces off. You don't have a whole lot of paper overlap. Okay, we got one more side here. All right, let's get that down there. Okay. And then I just kind of pull it up and over so that it's nice and tight and secure. There we go. There we go. Okay. Whoops. Got a little bit of crumple. So there we go. So see how nice that edge is? And then what you can do if you want, and I'm going to do it, is I'm just going to put and cut out another piece of paper. I'm going to let this sit for a minute. But then again, see, we have our piece right here. It's all done. Really nice. And it's going to fold really nice. I think I'm just going to let that sit for a minute and let it dry, and then cut out a decorative piece right here. You don't have to, because I don't think that looks bad. I think that actually looks pretty good. I might not even do a decorative piece. But what you would do is you would cut out, and in the instructions, it does call for a decorative piece. It doesn't show it, but it says here, an inside decorative piece, 2.5 by 5.5 inches. And what that does, you cut that out, and you just put it over top, like this one right here. It just covers the top of it right here. But to be honest, I really don't think it's all that necessary. It looks kind of nice this way. But I don't know. I'm going to let this dry a little bit. I put an awful lot of glue on it, so I'll see what I want to do. So I've decided to make an inside decorative panel that will go and cover the edges of my cover. So what we're going to do, that right there, the decorative sheet is 2.5 by 5.5. So we will just cut out 2.5. We'll cut out with the trusty Cricut paper cutter. I'm just using some old copier paper that I have. Trying to line that up. There we go. Okay. It's 2.5 by 5.5. So we'll just go with the 5.5 here. We're just going to cut the one, 5.5. Cut that down. There we go. We got that all figured out here. So again, like I said, it's just a plain copier paper that I've decided to lay over my paper here. And this bottom piece right here is going to be folded up. So you don't have to, I'm making the distance the same at the top and both sides. I'm not so worried about the bottom. So I'm going to get another piece of paper, and I am going to glue this thing down. Okay. I like the purple because then you know you've got it all. And I don't like to get my work surface all gunked up with glue. So any old copier paper that I have, I just use as a protector for that. Okie dokie. So like I said, we don't really need to worry about the bottom part of it. And this does dry clear. So I will get this here. And there we go. We got her all glued down really good. And it just makes it a little cleaner. The edges are covered. And it looks really nice. I don't need this. So while that dries for a little bit, we're going to go ahead and create our internal pages, which are what these are here. Just again, made out of copier paper. Something really easy. And then I have some right here. And let's see here. What I'll do is I'll show you how to make them perforated. I'm not going to do that with these. I think I might just do perforated along the bottom of them when I put them in. So we'll get started on the insert sheets. So, okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut the inside sheets. It doesn't matter how many you cut. It's up to you, however many you want on the inside of your notebook or matchbooks. Like this has just a few there. So, but let me share some things I know. I used to be in the printing industry my whole career, so there's something nice about cutting economically. And since we don't have to really worry about the grain, like we had talked about before about folding, we don't have to worry about the grain. So what I'm taking is the 2 1/8 by 2 1/2 size and figuring out how on an 8.5 by 11 piece of copier paper would be the most economical, that I can get the most cuts out of my paper in the most efficient way. So since a piece of paper is 8.5 by 11, and to fold it in half is 4 1/4, the most economical way to cut your paper out of this 8.5 by 11 is to go 2 1/8 across your 8.5. And then, because we have an 11 and half of the 11 is 5 1/2, we're going to take our 2 1/2 down the 11. So we get the number of sheets we get out of one 8.5 by 11 sheet of copier paper is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay? If we were to do it the opposite direction, it's not that much of a difference. It's just not as easy to cut out. You've got a whole side of waste and then you've got a bottom of waste. If the 2 1/2 is across the top, then you're only going to get 3 across the top rather than a clean 4, because these 2 1/8 fit cleanly across the top. And same here with the 2 1/8 going down. So it's not a big deal. You're getting 15 out of one, 16 out of another. But in the printing industry, when you're working for somebody and you have thousands and thousands and thousands of sheets, it really adds up. So just something that I always do. So what I'm going to do, cut down this. This is going to give me 16 sheets. And I'll probably do 2 sheets. That'll give me, what, 32 sheets for my matchbook. So I've cut the 2 1/8. Now we're going to cut the 2 1/2. I'm just going to do 2 pages at a time. Because this is wasted or old paper, I want to make sure that this is cut off. It was a misprint on my copier. So there we go. We'll just do 2 1/2 across the whole page. Doesn't have to be perfect. There we go. 2 1/2. And then we'll just put both of them on the cutter. Cut this end off first. It just makes it a little bit easier. There we go. Alrighty, we have all of our pages cut out, and I did the 2 1/8 across here. So I got 16, so I did 2 sheets of paper. I've got 32 pieces of cutout paper for my matchbook. Okay, what we're going to do right now is fold up the bottom, and this is where the paper will be tucked in and stapled. I'm hoping my stapler will go through that many sheets of paper. It may not, so we shall see. What we're going to do right now is the bottom of my matchbook notebook has a wider space at the bottom than the top. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to measure 1 inch. Oops. Measure 1 inch from the bottom, 1 inch from the bottom. And from that top, then I'm going to take and do a 1/2 inch. And a 1/2 inch. Because what we're going to do is we're going to fold this up, but this piece right here is going to get folded into itself. If you can see, there's a piece here. It just makes a nice finished edge, and then there's a nice finished edge on the inside of it too. So let's do this. So I'm going to take my ruler, and it looks like my paper is going to try and crinkle. And I may have wished I didn't do the decorative paper, but that's okay. I'm just going to roll this across here on there so I get a nice crease in there. And same with this. I think I may have needed to use a different glue too. I'm not sure. But we got that rolled. That's the 1/2 inch. Now what we're going to do is we're going to, yeah, see, look at my glue's coming up. Don't use this. You're going to want something that's a little more, that's going to adhere a little bit more. I'm going to try and do the best I can with what I got. So I'm going to fold this back up. See, look what's happening here. It's all lifting up. There we go. Nope, it's all lifting up. I may just take mine off. I think I'm just going to see, because I don't like that. It's supposed to be a nice looking decorative sheet. I don't mind if this rips a little bit down here because it's going to all be buried, but look at this. It's coming right off. Don't use that glue. That was new to me. I thought it would be kind of handy to have the purple. So I'm going to go ahead and just take this off. See, you just never know what's going to happen when you're working, but that's okay. You just deal with it. So I think what I'm going to do for this one is I'm going to not worry about a decorative inside. So I already had mine bent over or folded over 1 inch. Now I'm folding in my 1/2 inch. So here is the area in which I'm going to tuck my papers. And I will just take my bone folder and do just a little bit. It doesn't need to be perfectly flat. All right, so we got that. I don't think my stapler is going to go through 32 pieces of paper. So I think I'm just going to do 1/2 of them. And then what I'll do with the other, I don't want this to have the perforated. I'm just going to, well, why not? I'll do that. No, I don't think so. We'll do that separately. I'm just going to put this in here, make sure it's going to fold over and tuck it. Yeah. All right, let me grab my stapler. Okay, so I've got my stapler. I've tucked my pages in. They're all the way to the bottom. I have a nice side on either side. And I'm going to have the prongs on the back of it. I want a nice finish on the front, so I'll just put this in here, and I'm just going to eye it so that it's centered, and then I'm going to press it down and see how it, oh, it came out nice. Okay, see how that came out? I don't know if you can see that, but it came out pretty nice. And then I take this and I just tuck it in like that. Open it up. It needs a decorative piece of paper, but you get the idea. I showed you how to do it. I may try another one in a little bit, but there you have it. It's a pretty little matchbook notebook for any quick notes you might have to make. Now, if you want to go ahead and also perforate them and put them in your book, I'll show you how to do that. Since we have a 1/2 inch bottom, and I have some extras now since my stapler won't do them all, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take two of them. I've got two pieces. And from the bottom, I'm going to go a 1/2 inch. Where's my pencil? 1/2 inch. Let's see here. Maybe just a little bit. I think I'll go a little bit above the 1/2 inch. Let's see. I think I'll go like a 1/16 above. Okay. There we go. Here's, go a 1/16 above. There we go. And what I'm going to do here, it takes just a couple minutes, but once you get used to it, it works great. So I'm going to set my ruler right here so I have a guide. And here is, this is a pattern cutter. It just kind of rolls along, and what I'm going to do is cut along here and make perforations. There we go. And it went through to two of them, so that when it's in your book, I can't take that out, but when it's in your book, you can fold it and rip it out. You'll still have that in the bottom, but there's a little piece of paper. It's not like you need a lot. How many times have you needed just a little scrap of paper to write something down? So a pattern cutter works beautifully. So I hope you've enjoyed this. It didn't quite turn out as I wanted it to, but it still turned out fine. And they're kind of fun to make, and you can do with all kinds of different papers, whether it's Momigami or any other kind of paper that you might have around. It's a real fun project, and I hope you enjoyed it.